Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
John Hurt was a renowned English actor whose distinctive voice, piercing eyes, and extraordinary versatility made him one of the most respected and recognizable performers in film and television. Over the course of a six-decade career, he portrayed a wide array of complex and often tragic characters, earning critical acclaim and a devoted following worldwide. Early life and education. John Vincent Hurt was born on January 22, 1940, in Chesterfield, Derbyshire, England. His father was a Church of England vicar and his mother an amateur actress and engineer. Raised in a conservative and religious household, Hurt developed a love for the arts at a young age. He trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, in London, honing his craft alongside other rising talents of the era. Breakthrough roles. Hurt first gained major attention in the 1966 film A Man for All Seasons. But it was his portrayal of the flamboyant and doomed Roman Emperor Caligula in the 1976 television series I, Claudius that established him as a bold and compelling screen presence. He received his first Academy Award nomination for Midnight Express, 1978, in which he played Max, a heroin-addicted British prisoner in a Turkish jail. The performance earned him a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor. The Elephant Man. An iconic performances. Perhaps Hurt's most celebrated role came in The Elephant Man, 1980. Directed by David Lynch. In this emotionally wrenching biopic, he played Joseph Merrick, a severely deformed man in Victorian London. His performance, masked behind elaborate prosthetic makeup, earned him his second Oscar nomination and widespread critical acclaim for his dignity and sensitivity. He became a pop culture icon after appearing in Alien, 1979. Where his shocking chest-bursting scene became one of the most memorable moments in sci-fi history. He continued to take on diverse and daring roles, including Winston Smith in 1984, Mr. Ollivander in the Harry Potter series, and the voice of the dragon in Merlin. Later career and recognition. Hurt remained active well into his 70s, appearing in films such as V for Vendetta, 2005, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, 2011, and Jackie, 2016. In 2013, he played the War Doctor in the long-running British sci-fi series Doctor Who, delighting fans with his performance in the show's 50th anniversary special. In 2015, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II for his services to drama, becoming Sir John Hurt. Personal life and legacy. John Hurt was married 4 times and was open about his struggles with alcohol during parts of his life. In 2015, he announced he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he passed away on January 25, 2017, just 3 days after his 77th birthday. He left behind a legacy of fearless performances and a body of work that spans genres, continents, and generations. Whether portraying historical figures, literary characters, or mythical beings, John Hurt imbued every role with humanity, depth, and unforgettable gravitas. John Hurt's artistic legacy is defined not only by the number of roles he played but also by the emotional depth and intellectual weight he brought to each performance. His choices often gravitated toward roles that explored human suffering, existential questions, or moral ambiguity, portrayals that revealed the fragility and strength of the human spirit. Master of transformation. One of Hurt's defining traits as an actor was his remarkable ability to disappear into his characters. From physically transformative roles like Joseph Merrick in The Elephant Man to emotionally ravaged figures like Quentin Crisp in The Naked Civil Servant, 1975. He gave voice to those on society's margins. His performance as Crisp, a flamboyant gay man in 1940s England, was groundbreaking and brought him a BAFTA Television Award. Hurt reprised the role decades later in An Englishman in New York, 2009, portraying Crisp in his later years with extraordinary pathos. He had a unique gift for portraying outsiders, prisoners, monsters, visionaries, victims, men whose fates were often tragic but whose dignity Hurt preserved with honesty and restraint. Voice work and narration. Hurt's voice was one of the most distinctive in British acting, gravelly, mournful, and poetic. It made him a favorite for voiceover work and narration. He voiced Aragorn in Ralph Bakshi's 1978 animated version of The Lord of the Rings, the terrifying Horned King in Disney's The Black Cauldron, 1985, and the wise dragon Kilgara in the BBC series Merlin, 2008-2012. His narration of documentaries, commercials, and audiobooks added yet another dimension to his long and varied career. Collaborations and influence. Throughout his career, John Hurt worked with many of the world's most acclaimed directors, including Ridley Scott, David Lynch, Mel Brooks, Stephen Frears, Lars von Trier, and Guillermo del Toro. Directors admired his intelligence, commitment, and lack of vanity. He never shied away from difficult or controversial material and often elevated the projects he touched. Fellow actors frequently described him as generous, deeply thoughtful, and mischievously witty. He mentored younger talents, and his body of work continues to influence actors who admire his risk-taking and craftsmanship. Final years. Even after his cancer diagnosis, Hurt continued to act. His final roles included appearances in That Good Night, 2017, a poignant drama about a terminally ill screenwriter, and My Name is Lenny, 2017, in which he played the trainer of a notorious British bare-knuckle boxer. These films demonstrated his unwavering commitment to his craft, even as he approached the end of his life. Legacy. John Hurt's career defied easy categorization. He was a character actor who became a leading man, an art house favorite who appeared in major franchises, and a performer who brought the same level of artistry to television, stage, and film. He received 2 Academy Award nominations, 4 BAFTAs, with multiple wins, and was named a Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE, in 2004 before being knighted in 2015. He remains one of Britain's most admired actors, celebrated for his courage in role choices, his emotional authenticity, and his deep compassion for the characters he portrayed. Hurt once remarked, "I think I'm always drawn to the underdog, and it is perhaps that quality, his empathy for the vulnerable, that defines his legacy most of all." Theatrical roots and stage work. Though John Hurt is best known for his film and television performances, his career began on the stage, and he never abandoned the theatre entirely. After graduating from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, he joined the Royal Shakespeare Company and appeared in numerous classical productions, where his unique voice and raw emotional expressiveness stood out. Among his notable stage appearances were roles in The Caretaker, Krapp's Last Tape, and The Seagull. In later years, he returned to the theatre with a powerful performance in Samuel Beckett's Krapp's Last Tape, a one-man play that showcased his ability to communicate deep anguish and introspection with minimal movement and spare dialogue. The performance was widely praised and cemented his reputation as a master of Beckett's bleak but beautiful world. Personal philosophy and artistic integrity. John Hurt was an artist of principle. He resisted the lure of typecasting, choosing instead to work on projects that challenged him or provoked audiences. His career was marked by a refusal to pander to trends or box office guarantees. He once said, "I do what I feel is right. I make decisions based on instinct. And I've never been one to chase money or popularity." That sense of integrity guided his collaborations and personal projects. He lent his talents to independent films, experimental dramas, and biopics of misunderstood or marginalized individuals, even when commercial success was uncertain. His dedication to art over fame made him a beloved figure in the British acting community and a touchstone of quality in cinema. Honours and awards. In addition to his knighthood and CBE, John Hurt's long list of honours included a Golden Globe Award for Midnight Express, 4 BAFTA nominations, with 2 wins, The Naked Civil Servant and Midnight Express, 2 Academy Award nominations, for Midnight Express and The Elephant Man, the Laurence Olivier Award nomination for Best Actor Lifetime Achievement Awards from various institutions, including the British Independent Film Awards and the Evening Standard British Film Awards. He was also honoured with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2014. A rare tribute for a British actor whose work was more often associated with arthouse films than Hollywood blockbusters. A deeply human actor, there was a certain vulnerability and tenderness that Hurt brought to even his darkest roles. Whether portraying a tortured prisoner, a war-ravaged soldier, or a man with a grotesquely deformed body, he revealed the humanity inside the pain. His characters often bore the scars of the world but also offered glimpses of grace, intelligence, and quiet resilience. In 1984, Hurt's portrayal of Winston Smith, a man crushed under a totalitarian regime, remains one of the most emotionally devastating performances in film history. In V for Vendetta, as the authoritarian Chancellor Adam Sutler, he explored the opposite end of the moral spectrum, portraying tyranny with chilling realism. These opposing roles reflect his breadth and depth as an actor, a man capable of embodying both the oppressed and the oppressor, the fragile and the powerful, the monstrous and the noble. Final reflections. John Hurt passed away in January 2017, but his voice and presence continue to resonate in the films, series, and performances he left behind. He brought intelligence and empathy to every role, and his legacy lives on through the countless actors and artists who cite him as an influence. Sir John Hurt was, above all, a storyteller, one who believed in the power of performance to touch the soul. He left the world not with fanfare, but with the quiet dignity that had defined his life and work. As long as people seek truth and humanity in performance, the legacy of John Hurt will endure. Versatility across genres. One of the most remarkable aspects of John Hurt's career was his effortless ability to cross genres: drama, science fiction, fantasy, horror, historical epics, and even animation. He refused to be pigeonholed, and this refusal made him one of the most flexible actors of his generation. In Alien, 1979, Hurt helped redefine cinematic horror in space with one of the most shocking death scenes in movie history. Years later, he would parody that very scene in Spaceballs, 1987, showing his willingness to laugh at his own legacy. In Hellboy, 2004, and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, 2008, he played Professor Trevor Bruttenholm, a wise and fatherly figure who grounded the comic book world in emotional truth. He also embraced modern fantasy in the Harry Potter series, where he played Mr. Ollivander, the mystical wandmaker. Despite limited screen time, Hurt imbued the character with gravitas and mystery, making Ollivander a memorable figure in the wizarding world. Collaborations with visionary directors. John Hurt gravitated toward filmmakers with strong, unconventional visions. His work with David Lynch, The Elephant Man, created a haunting, poetic film that fused surrealism with Victorian tragedy. With Ridley Scott, Alien, he became part of a modern science fiction classic. He worked with Lars von Trier on Dogville, 2003, as the film's narrator, adding dramatic and psychological weight to the stark, minimalist film. He also collaborated with celebrated British directors such as Stephen Frears, The Hit, Richard Eyre, Crime and Punishment, and Michael Caton-Jones, Scandal, consistently elevating the material he was given. His loyalty to serious, thought-provoking cinema earned him respect among directors who valued integrity over commercialism. A quiet force in British cinema, Hurt was never allowed celebrity or tabloid regular. He lived a relatively private life and avoided the spotlight unless it related to his craft. Yet he remained a constant force in British cinema, admired not just for his talent, but for his humility, mentorship, and dedication to storytelling. He was also deeply supportive of emerging filmmakers and smaller productions. He often agreed to participate in low-budget or independent films if he believed in the script or the vision behind it. He understood the importance of legacy and often used his name and stature to support the next generation of artists. Personal struggles and resilience. John Hurt's life, like many of his characters, was marked by struggle and survival. He battled alcoholism during parts of his life and endured a series of difficult relationships, marrying 4 times. He also faced significant health challenges, including a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer in 2015. Despite the severity of his illness, he continued to act, often choosing roles that reflected mortality, legacy, and farewell. His final performances, such as in That Good Night, 2017, mirrored his real-life battle with illness. The film, in which he plays a terminally ill man coming to terms with his mortality, was heartbreakingly poignant and offered a final, deeply personal insight into Hurt's own understanding of life and death. Enduring cultural presence even after his death, John Hurt remains a cultural icon. His voice, used in countless narrations and documentaries, is instantly recognizable. His characters continue to influence pop culture, from Winston Smith's tragic resistance to Big Brother, to the unforgettable moment when a xenomorph bursts from his chest. Actors, critics, and audiences alike often point to his ability to make sadness beautiful, to find strength in fragility, and to bring forgotten or rejected figures to center stage. He gave dignity to the overlooked and visibility to the outcast. A lasting legacy. Sir John Hurt's legacy is woven into the very fabric of British and world cinema. He didn't chase fame, he pursued truth, empathy, and excellence. His body of work is a profound archive of what it means to be human, flawed, vulnerable, searching, and ultimately resilient. In his own words, "We're all just passing through, and our job is to leave something worthwhile behind." John Hurt did exactly that, and the world is richer for it. Influence on generations of actors. John Hurt's influence extended far beyond the screen and stage. To actors around the world, veterans and newcomers alike, he was a symbol of fearless artistry. His ability to embody vulnerability, eccentricity, and quiet strength became a model for performers who sought truth in their craft. Many younger actors, from Daniel Radcliffe to Tom Hiddleston, have cited him as an inspiration, praising his humility, generosity, and unwavering commitment to authenticity. He didn't rely on conventional good looks or leading man charisma. Instead, he built a career through precision, subtlety, and emotional intelligence. He often said that it was the edges of a character, the broken places, the contradictions, that interested him most. In this way, he expanded the definition of what a successful actor could be. Humanitarian causes and personal values. Outside of acting, Hurt was known for his compassion and support of social causes. He advocated for cancer research and health charities following his own diagnosis, and he supported organizations like Amnesty International and Survival International, standing up for Indigenous peoples' rights and humanitarian efforts. He was not a political activist in the traditional sense, but he used his voice and public platform to draw attention to issues that mattered to him. He also stood firmly for the dignity and visibility of LGBTQ+ individuals, especially in the wake of his groundbreaking portrayal of Quentin Crisp. Long before such topics were widely discussed, Hurt's performance in The Naked Civil Servant brought compassion and complexity to a subject that had often been ignored or caricatured in mainstream media. Relationship with the audience. Despite his towering reputation, John Hurt remained accessible to his audience. His voice and face were familiar companions across decades, comforting in their honesty. He never appeared to play for vanity or applause. His characters seemed to live with their own inner rhythms, often haunted, isolated, or reaching toward connection. Audiences respected him not just for his skill, but for the sense that he understood people, their pain, their humor, their contradictions. Whether in art house dramas or mainstream fantasy films, Hurt's presence always suggested depth. When he was on screen, even in the smallest role, the emotional weight of the story seemed to grow heavier, more meaningful. Filmography highlights. While it's impossible to name every standout in his vast filmography, a few of his most defining roles include Max in Midnight Express, 1978, a haunting, Oscar-nominated turn as a doomed inmate; Joseph Merrick in The Elephant Man, 1980, a heartbreaking portrait of humanity behind deformity; John Merrick, voice in The Elephant Man, the play. His vocal performance in the stage version was equally moving. Winston Smith in 1984, a chilling, tragic performance that captured Orwell's dystopia. Quentin Crisp in The Naked Civil Servant, 1975, and An Englishman in New York, 2009, revolutionary portrayals of LGBTQ identity. Kane in Alien, 1979, a character forever linked with the most famous death scene in science fiction. Ollivander in the Harry Potter series, mysterious, gentle, and wise. The War Doctor in Doctor Who, 2013, a late-career fan favorite, full of gravitas and regret. Douglas in That Good Night, 2017, his final leading role, an intimate farewell to life and legacy. A life in reflection. In his final years, Hurt often spoke about mortality with serenity and acceptance. "We're all going to die," he told an interviewer after his cancer diagnosis. "It's just a question of when, and how well we live until then." That quiet defiance, dignified, wise, unflinching, was evident in both his life and his work. Sir John Hurt died on January 25, 2017, surrounded by love and the respect of his peers and fans around the world. Yet his death did not mark an ending so much as a continuation. His work still resonates, his voice still echoes, and his empathy still teaches. His characters, whether disfigured or divine, villainous or virtuous, remain some of the most unforgettable in cinematic history. His legacy is that of an actor who dared to feel deeply, speak truthfully, and make art that matters. Influence on generations of actors. John Hurt's influence extended far beyond the screen and stage. To actors around the world, veterans and newcomers alike, he was a symbol of fearless artistry. His ability to embody vulnerability, eccentricity, and quiet strength became a model for performers who sought truth in their craft. Many younger actors, from Daniel Radcliffe to Tom Hiddleston, have cited him as an inspiration, praising his humility, generosity, and unwavering commitment to authenticity. He didn't rely on conventional good looks or leading man charisma. Instead, he built a career through precision, subtlety, and emotional intelligence. He often said that it was the edges of a character, the broken places, the contradictions, that interested him most. In this way, he expanded the definition of what a successful actor could be. Humanitarian causes and personal values outside of acting, Hurt was known for his compassion and support of social causes. He advocated for cancer research and health charities following his own diagnosis, and he supported organizations like Amnesty International and Survival International, standing up for indigenous peoples' rights and humanitarian efforts. He was not a political activist in the traditional sense, but he used his voice and public platform to draw attention to issues that mattered to him. He also stood firmly for the dignity and visibility of LGBTQ+ individuals, especially in the wake of his groundbreaking portrayal of Quentin Crisp. Long before such topics were widely discussed, Hurt's performance in The Naked Civil Servant brought compassion and complexity to a subject that had often been ignored or caricatured in mainstream media. Relationship with the audience. Despite his towering reputation, John Hurt remained accessible to his audience. His voice and face were familiar companions across decades, comforting in their honesty. He never appeared to play for vanity or applause. His characters seemed to live with their own inner rhythms, often haunted, isolated, or reaching toward connection. Audiences respected him not just for his skill, but for the sense that he understood people, their pain, their humor, their contradictions. Whether in art house dramas or mainstream fantasy films, Hurt's presence always suggested depth. When he was on screen, even in the smallest role, the emotional weight of the story seemed to grow heavier, more meaningful. Filmography highlights. While it's impossible to name every standout in his vast filmography, a few of his most defining roles include Max in Midnight Express, 1978, a haunting, Oscar-nominated turn as a doomed inmate; Joseph Merrick in The Elephant Man, 1980, a heartbreaking portrait of humanity behind deformity; John Merrick, voice in The Elephant Man, the play. His vocal performance in the stage version was equally moving. Winston Smith in 1984, a chilling, tragic performance that captured Orwell's dystopia. Quentin Crisp in The Naked Civil Servant, 1975, and An Englishman in New York, 2009, revolutionary portrayals of LGBTQ identity. Kane in Alien, 1979, a character forever linked with the most famous death scene in science fiction. Ollivander in the Harry Potter series, mysterious, gentle, and wise. The War Doctor in Doctor Who, 2013, a late-career fan favorite, full of gravitas and regret. Douglas in That Good Night, 2017, his final leading role, an intimate farewell to life and legacy. A life in reflection. In his final years, Hurt often spoke about mortality with serenity and acceptance. "We're all going to die," he told an interviewer after his cancer diagnosis. "It's just a question of when, and how will we live until then?" That quiet defiance, dignified, wise, unflinching, was evident in both his life and his work. Sir John Hurt died on January 25, 2017, surrounded by love and the respect of his peers and fans around the world. Yet his death did not mark an ending so much as a continuation. His work still resonates, his voice still echoes, and his empathy still teaches. His characters, whether disfigured or divine, villainous or virtuous, remain some of the most unforgettable in cinematic history. His legacy is that of an actor who dared to feel deeply, speak truthfully, and make art that matters. Early years and formative influences. John Hurt's path to becoming one of Britain's finest actors was shaped early by both struggle and curiosity. Born to a strict Anglican family in Chesterfield, Derbyshire, he was the son of a vicar and a mother who had once aspired to act. Though his parents were not supportive of acting as a profession, deeming it unsuitable for a young man, they allowed him to attend the Grimsby Art School, where he originally trained to be an art teacher. It was during this time that Hurt discovered a passion for performance. Recognizing that his future lay not in painting but in portraying life on stage and screen, he auditioned for and won a scholarship to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, in London. There, his craft was sharpened under formal training, and his singular voice, full of gravel, melancholy, and music, began to emerge as one of his defining instruments. The unconventional star John Hurt never fit the mold of a traditional movie star, and he never tried to. Lean, wiry, and intense, he lacked the physical presence typically associated with leading men. Instead, his power came from within, an actor who radiated emotion, intelligence, and a raw, almost existential vulnerability. His performances were often quiet, yet deeply penetrating, and they allowed audiences to see the complexity and conflict within his characters. He often played men who were damaged or morally torn, outsiders facing systems larger than themselves. This became a thematic thread throughout his work, an exploration of the individual under pressure, whether societal, political, or psychological. Revered in British cinema. Within British cinema, John Hurt occupied a singular space, revered not just as a performer, but as a cultural touchstone. Alongside contemporaries like Richard Burton, Ian Holm, and Alan Bates, Hurt brought literary weight and theatrical soul to the screen. His collaborations with directors such as Alan Parker, David Lynch, and Stephen Frears were crucial in shaping the gritty, thoughtful realism that marked the British New Wave and its successors. Even as his fame spread internationally, Hurt continued to support British productions and stage work. He was deeply invested in the continuation of Britain's theatrical tradition and lent his voice and presence to small plays, radio dramas, and television work throughout his life. Literary and historical roles. Hurt's deep respect for literature and history often guided his choice of roles. He had a gift for bringing literary figures to life with nuance and restraint. From George Orwell's tortured hero Winston Smith to historical figures like Caligula, Claudius, Richard Rich, A Man for All Seasons, and even John Merrick, the Elephant Man, Hurt seemed drawn to characters burdened by oppressive systems, private torment, or physical limitations. His ability to humanize these roles was rooted in empathy and detail. He approached characters not as performers often do, through ego or showmanship, but through understanding and stillness. He let audiences feel the internal lives of those he portrayed without overstatement. Distinctive voice, lasting echo among his many gifts. Hurt's voice became one of the most distinctive and recognizable in the arts. Warm, textured, and expressive, it gave weight and credibility to every word he spoke. He narrated numerous documentaries, such as The Universe, The Story of God, and nature programs for the BBC and Channel 4. His voice work in film also extended to animation and fantasy. He gave voice to Hazel, the Rabbit Prophet, In Watership Down, 1978, a film that remains beloved across generations. His portrayal of the dragon Kilgara in Merlin gave the series its gravitas and mystery. While his voice roles in The Black Cauldron and Lord of the Rings, as Aragorn in the 1978 animated film, further illustrated his enduring appeal in fantasy. The final curtain: when Hurt was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2015, he spoke of it with characteristic calm and philosophical detachment. He continued to work even as his health declined, believing that art gave life purpose. His final performances are layered with poignancy. That Good Night in particular is a quiet and elegant meditation on aging, reconciliation, and death. It feels almost like a farewell letter to his audience. Memorial and posthumous praise after his passing in 2017, tributes poured in from across the globe. Actors, directors, and fans alike mourned not just the loss of a great artist, but the passing of an era. David Lynch called him simply the greatest actor I've ever worked with, while Stephen Fry described him as the most gentlemanly of gentlemen and the most talented of actors. The British Film Institute, BAFTA, and the Academy all honored his contributions. His memory lives on through retrospectives, scholarship funds in his name, and the continued admiration of his work. In summary, Sir John Hurt was not merely an actor, he w.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.